Hello there, it's part 2 of the Under the Abbey Stand season review. Just when you thought we were all done talking about this season, another jam-packed running order springs up out of nowhere. In this part, we've got our awards, or non-awards, to dish out, a few League One memories to discuss, and fresh off the press, the retained list. I've got some panellists with me to provide their expert opinion. Jordan Morland, how are you doing today? You said earlier that we are the first adults you've spoken to all day. I'm sorry to disappoint you with the other panellists.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, excited to be here. A busy day. I thought the retain list was never coming, but then it rocked up same time as the Pope announcement, which is very exciting. Yeah, looking forward to cracking on with it and getting some expert adult conversation flowing.
Can't promise that. Jack Swindlehurst, how are you?
Yeah, I knew you were going to come to me next. Yeah, all good. Same as Jord, waiting all day on 10 hooks for this to come out. Comes out at the last minute, and plenty to talk about, and I'm looking forward to it.
White smoke from the CFCX account. Is it that way around? White.
Yeah,
white smoke. Pope.
Yeah. Good. Tom, how are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. Intrigued that this is for the tape. 8 minutes past 8 on a Thursday evening, and we're the first adults George's spoken to.
He's been at work all day.
Yeah, I was just saying, do we have to draw our own conclusions about who else he's been speaking to in the meantime?
Just spent the day with Toddler Wes, as he's known now.
Okay, that's good.
Chatting away, but he didn't really have much to say on Digby leaving
because it's nothing vicious. So
what does he think of the new Pope?
Oh,
he's shocked at his
Careful,
American.
Swindle, for God's sake. That's liable.
Sorry, the penny just landed there. That's great stuff, Swindle. Okay. Literally 2 minutes in.
I take it back. The adult conversation has not been worth the wait.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on. We do have a retained list to discuss. Obviously, you can probably hear by our voices that we're not in the Portland anymore. That's because we spent an hour and a half talking about a year that we were hoping to forget. But we dragged on and on, so we're here tonight to do the rest of that pod, but also it means that we can do this retained list. The culling of Cambridge United is probably the best way to put it, right, Tom? What's the number? 11 players released?
Yeah, big time. And obviously Gary Gardner chopped. So does that make it 12?
Does that make it 12? Yeah. Does the 11 include Morosi and Malone or not even?
So it's actually 14.
14. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with, well, I guess go broad really, Tom. What's your take on just the number, the amount of people? Is it the sort of clean slate that you wanted?
Sort of, yeah. I think the only caveat to that is that there are players under contract who I think we should still be trying to move on. Namely like Rossi, Loft, and I think probably McConnell might find his way out on loan somewhere for the vast majority of next season. Leaving that aside, I think then you're looking at who's out of contract, who do you offer deals to, who do you move on. I think in terms of, well, we spoke about this after the Burton game. What would we do? I said I'd offer a new deal to Bennett, Morrison, Kai and Digby. We've done that to 3 of those, and I don't really have too many arguments with not offering Digby a year, to be honest. I think a clean slate was needed. And I guess the point that I'd make above all is that I think if Neil Harris was here this time last year and he hadn't dipped off back to Millwall, I think the retain list would have looked a lot more like this than what it actually did this time last year. So it's been a long time coming. I think a lot of those players have almost literally stolen a wage at times throughout their Cambridge United careers. I mean, within the 14 that have gone, 2 are contracted and haven't played a single minute for us this season, which is remarkable and a bit of an indicator of just how poorly certain aspects of the squad management have gone. So, or squad building, I guess. So yeah, a cull was needed, a cull we've got, but I guess chop are going to chop, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Jord, There's one guy in particular that I want to ask you about. Tom mentioned him. I'll quickly just run through the names of released players, just because, I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen them, but Dribble Okadina, Jack Stevens, Louis Chadwick, Danny Andrew, George Thomas, Jordan Cousins, Ben Stevenson, Dan Barton, Brandon Njoku, Amaru Kaunda, and Paul Digby, who I think is one that warrants the first point of discussion, Jord. Tom said he would have offered him a new deal. Would you? And also, just a bit about the player, 229 appearances. He's been a loyal and dependable player for us throughout. He's sad to see him go.
Absolutely sad to see him go. A lockdown legend. It feels like this is the sort of closing of a chapter of, say, like the last 5 years, that first season with the lockdown restrictions, the promotion, League One. That seems like a chapter in our history. And this is sort of the end of it. And as Tom says, it's a clean slate. It feels like under a new director of football, under a new old coach, if it were, with a new squad, it feels like we're embarking on sort of the next chapter in our history, complete with a new badge, of course. So it's exciting. Yeah, it feels like Neil Harris has stuck with what he was alluding to, what he was hinting to, of doing that big chop. If I'm honest, there was a part of me that thought that maybe he was talking it up more than he was actually going to do, and there's a part of me that thinks, is it a risk to need to sign 10 plus players in a summer and have time for them to gel and things like that, and with that specific point in mind, Julian, that is why I'm surprised that Digby wasn't offered something. Likewise, I agree with Tom. I can see a case for not offering him something, but when you look at the skeleton of the squad right now, and your centre midfield options are Corey Smith and Hoddle, who you would assume goes out on loan. It's been heavily hinted. Then you think, well, how many centre mids do you want? At least 4, I would say. And I feel like Digby could do a job as a squad player. He definitely is League Two standard, at least in my opinion. And I wonder if that's how the conversation went, and he realised that he maybe wasn't going to be a first choice, and he's at a point in his career where he doesn't want to step aside and be a squad player and wants to play more. So yeah, maybe there's reasons for him going. But yeah, on Digby as a person, yes, it's definitely sad. Obviously, it's sad when you lose a clubman, someone that's given a lot to this club, appearances, commitment, passion. He's played various positions. Whilst you can question his quality at time, I think it's safe to say you can never question his aptitude or his effort for when he was wearing the Cambridge United badge. So for that, I'm very grateful and thankful for that, and a lot of great memories from him. So it's sad. Yeah, it's sad to see both him and Okadina, lockdown legends, moving on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's all of them gone now. I'm just having a quick look at this.
They're the last 2. Yeah, good shout on Digby's positions, by the way. You just brought back that little period of games where Bonner was playing him as like a number 10, like a marauding sort of pressing number 10.
And like we said in part 1 of the review, he played centre back at the start of the start of the season as well.
Yeah, I
was desperate to see him go in goal. Do you know what? He just strikes me as someone that, if you had like a red card or something and you didn't have someone on the bench,
definitely
he's going to be the guy who's like, give me the gloves.
Can we just be very clear that if that had happened, Swindle, you still wouldn't have been right? Yeah,
he's not an out-and-out goalkeeper.
I don't know.
No, sorry.
Hang on. No, I think he would have been right.
Bollocks.
I think we've got to draw a line somewhere. I think that you said we'd play 5 goalkeepers, not 5 different people playing goal.
No, that's a person who goes in goal is a goalkeeper.
This is an interesting question.
Nah,
I think I've got to say,
well, some of the people we played in goal have been worse than Paul Digby would be. So, yeah, where do we draw that line?
I think we've got to see what the listeners think to this, but I'm with Swindle on this. I think that would have been 5. Anyway, this cannot hold up.
I'm backing Tom. So
this cannot hold up the podcast, lads. I'm sorry, I won't let it. There's much more important things.
Hang on. This is important. Let's get to the bottom of this now. We haven't even mentioned King Street Cellar yet.
Yeah, they didn't get a mention on the first part of the review show.
Maybe
anyway,
they should pay us.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
He's not to air our dirty laundry.
It's not going to work. Um, anyway, look, back on track. The other player you mentioned there, the other lockdown legend that is definitely worth a discussion point, Swindle, is Jibril Okadina. Me and you had the same reaction. Bit of sadness, but I think with Digby, George raises loads of really solid points, especially about the amount of pressure on the amount of players you need to go out and sign, and Digby being a sort of known quantity and a good squad player, especially at League Two level. I think with Okadina, as much as personally, I'm sad to see him go. Maybe never quite lived up to the expectation. Maybe wasn't quite that League One standard. Sad to see him go, but I think probably the right decision here. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those. It was quite a nice kind of career he had with us, and there was a redemption arc within that career that I think everyone liked to see. You know, he was transfer listed and then came back in this season and put in some really solid performances, and it showed a good strength of character, and there were moments of quality from him, and he really won the fans back after kind of having a really tough time, and a lot of people, you know, wanting him out of the club, including the club themselves. And to not get that deal, it shows resilience as a player. And he really put a shift in for United, and was one of the players who came out of this season probably with a bit more, you know, credit to their name than they had done before. So yeah, fair play to him. You know, he came through that Spurs, you know, under 23 squad, and was, you know, raved about. But you know, he's only 24 years of age now. He can really still do something with his career. He's made his international debut last year too, whilst being with us, so he'll be fondly remembered. But yeah, we can't be too precious about kind of, you know, nurturing egos and stuff at this point. We have to be quite ruthless. Now is the time for a big rebuild. I think we've had quiet summers in the past few years, and I think this one's going to be the opposite. And players like Okadina, we can't afford to carry with us, you know, throughout any sentiment. So yeah, fondly remembered. But I think yeah, now is the time for him to move on, and good luck to him.
Yeah, I think it's funny that when we signed him permanently after that lockdown year, it felt like such a coup. It felt like we might have a player there that would have real maybe sell on value one day, and someone who was just right at the start of a really promising career, because I know he'd captained Spurs' under 21s, I think. So he came with a lot of expectation. We'd seen him play, and we'd seen him obviously be part of a successful United side. So it's not that I think he's been a disappointment necessarily, and I think you're right. It shows the strength of his character that at the start of the season, the way he forced himself back into the side and played really well in granted a bad side, but still I think I'm really going to keep an eye on his career. But yeah, both of those two gone. Is there anyone else, Tom, out of this list that you're maybe on the fence of, or someone that you wanna mention in any way? The two names I've seen, Danny Andrew and Ben Stevenson, might have maybe been at a level for League Two. Ben Stevenson, I think the last time he was in League Two, won the league with Forest Green, so one that just got a name that got sprayed around. I don't know where do you stand on it?
Not so much. I mean, I think the fact that we've chopped Gardner with you know, Digby's moved on and Stevenson has as well, I think probably is an indicator that one of the areas that they're looking to really revamp is the centre of the park. I don't think Stevenson's made much of an impact. I probably would agree that if we'd kept him, he would have been fine. But I mean, there have to be other options out there that could do at least that well, I think. So I'm not too disappointed. Danny Andrew, I kind of think the same thing, really. I think there must be plenty of better left backs we can go out and recruit, to be honest. I think the other thing you got to remember as well is, like, we're going to be, you know, obviously stepping down a level. We're not competing with the same teams for these players anymore. Like, you know, we don't want to be too big headed about it, but we are a bigger fish in the pond that we're going into. And I would like to think that that's going to mean that we can attract a few more of our first choice players than maybe what some of these would have been for us, you know, in League One. Let's be honest, like, you know, if Danny Andrew or Ben Stevens had loads of options available to them at League One level, they wouldn't be playing for us. And now we're in a situation where we're going into a league where we're probably going to have more options available to us than just those two guys. So not really for those, I guess. To be honest, I don't really have any arguments about the retained list at all, or the players that have been released from it. I don't really have any. There's no names on there that jumped off at me, and I was like, wow, I'm really surprised or disappointed by that. Maybe a tinge of disappointment for Okadina, but I think he may have stayed if he was under contract and the two centre-backs that are under contract in Watts and Rossi weren't, or we knew for sure that we could move either of them on. So I think maybe that's a little unfortunate. But again, like, you know, on form, like, he had a pretty decent middle part of the year, but nothing too much more than that.
Harris doesn't like him, does he? He's disappeared
Yeah.
since Harris came back, and
Uh,
I'm pretty sure
I'm
Harris
pretty
didn't
sure the
play
first
most of the
time. Yeah, think so.
The only other one on the list that I've seen raise a lot of questions is probably Dan Barton.
Yeah. So I think we were having an interesting chat on the WhatsApp about youth and youth products and our youth academy and how many of them make it into the first team, Tom, and you had a bit of a take on it, an opinion on it that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I just don't see it. And I get that, like right at the start of the year, there were a couple of quite promising performances. I don't think I'm being too revisionist to say that like it was just a few. Like it was very good against QPR, as everyone was. In
My God, that
What a
QPR
game.
I've
What
never-
a game.
Jesus.
And like he was, to be fair, a bit of a highlight, an unexpected highlight in a terrible team, one that got 1 point for its first 9 games. But I'd say this: like, there's a lot of people I think are thinking, "Oh, that's gonna be a real mistake. Like, we're gonna really rue getting rid of Dan Barton because he's gonna go on and have an incredible career." It's not necessarily as much of a slight on Dan Barton as it is anything as maybe as it might sound, but we don't really tend to get these wrong with youth players. Look at the youth players that have come through. We've decided to get rid of, and where they've ended up. You know, you look at in just the last few years, off the top of my head, you look at Lewis Simpey, you look at Ben Warman, Tom Knowles. These are players who we released or got rid of. None of them yet, at least, have gone on to prove us wrong. I think 2 of them are playing the conference. Knowles has sort of flirted with League Two football, but none of them have made a real dent on it, and certainly none of them have overtaken us. That's not to say it won't happen, but the odds are, you know, against it. I'd say the argument against it might be Kai Yearn and Greg Sanderford, who went on to Coventry, but they played a combined total of 0 minutes between them in the Championship, so they've not impacted the league above us. And I think Dan Barton, as harsh as it might sound, I think he'll just be another one of those. I think he'll be another one of those who, look, it might have to be a step forward, a step back to take 2 forwards, but I'm not sure we're going to be sat here in a few years and really ruining it. We'll have to see. I think for a few reasons, I think one of those, just on Barton specifically, is the obvious one. He's really, really lightweight. You know, Neil Harris isn't going to want lightweight players in his team. We know that his team's going to be physical. They're going to be aggressive. I'm not sure Dan Barton really fits with that. I just don't think we've seen much from him post-injury, really, to suggest that he was ever going to break into the team on a consistent basis. And, you know, what's the aim of your youth academy? It's to produce regular first-team players, or it's to produce saleable assets. I don't really think he was either going to be either of those. The only players that really have come through and have established themselves have been sold on, like Harry Darling, like Luke Berry, for example. And then you're probably going back as far as like Morrison and probably like John Ruddy. Like, you know, I know there's always a clamour for youth players, and Njoku falls into this to some extent, but I think they're probably, you know, given the evidence we've got available to us, there probably has to be an assumption that we just don't produce that many players who are good enough.
Well,
really.
I just want 2 quick points on this before Jordan Swindle. I want to get your take on this situation as well. The first one is that specifically with regards to United and these players, Chadwick, Barton, and Njoku and Kaunda. One of the people who will have been central to the decision making in terms of not offering them contract is Mark Bonner, who, if anyone knows Cambridge United's youth academy, it's Mark Bonner. Surely someone who, up until apart from a year and a half of his entire career, has been involved in the academy and the club in one way or another. He will have seen these boys develop from the age of like 8 years old. And that's not to say that not to say that his decision is right and final, but I think there's a lot of framing around it being Harris, which is obviously true to a huge extent in terms of what he wants his playing squad to look like. But I think in terms of maybe the sort of knowledge of these players in a longer term sense, Bonner will have a huge a huge part to play in that, and his opinion will obviously hold loads of weight. So that's another thing that if Bonner doesn't really rate them in the longer run as well, then if that feels like a wise judgment to trust. The other one, quickly, so I will pass on to you, is it's as Tom touched upon there, there's this general clamour amongst football fans for youth players, which is totally fair because they want to see those players who have that affinity with the club in the same way that you do, which is obviously such a rare thing to see on a football pitch. You see, to take an extreme example, like Roma's relationship to Totti and De Rossi is so different to any other footballer that will play for them. And I'm not saying Brandon Njoku could have been Totti, but it's something that people love to see, right? They love to see those youth academy products come good, break into the first team, and sort of have that extra bit of passion and pride for the badge, but fundamentally, I just don't think it's that realistic or important personally. Jordan, what's your take on the young lads?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to that sort of vision versus reality kind of argument. Like, I think you and Tom have both summed this up quite well. Like, the vision is clear. We are a small club with a history of, not attracting much in terms of finances through other avenues. In fact, this day and age is probably the best and healthiest that avenue has been in terms of sort of the financial backing coming into the club. The American investors, I know one has moved on, but new sponsorship and so on. It's probably the healthiest it's been. And so I think a lot of the fan base have been around long enough to have this vision that Cambridge are a selling club, and if we're going to sort of keep going, we need to find some talent, progress them, move them on at a fee. And when I started coming up United, there were examples of that, your Craddocks, your Granvilles and things like that. But Tom's absolutely right. Like that pool is pretty dry over the last 10-15 years. Like Darling, Berry, that's like two names from like 9-10 years. So it's the reality versus the vision. So I can see why people are keen for youth products to progress. It's got that passionate side, like you say, like one of us, but also it's the understanding where Cambridge are in the ecosystem and wanting to sell players and make money that way. And I wonder if it's also an element of frustration or jealousy, because we see other clubs doing it. We see other clubs either producing young players or signing young players from lower leagues and then playing them for a few years, selling them on, making money, then maybe making a second hit via a sell on. And dare I say it, our near neighbours up the road have done quite well in that. They have done it via buying players, not sort of producing their own, which is obviously very different. This whole situation, like this release list, with Barton going and Njoku going and the likes, I think it's just going to add fuel to that fire that Neil Harris doesn't really back the youth, which I feel is a little bit unfair, because ultimately we just want a successful team. We want next year to be as successful as possible, ideally bounce straight back up to League One. And if the people making that happen are from the Cambridge area or not doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah, and I think just to Tom's point, which I do agree with, is rather than Harris just not liking youth players for the sake of not liking youth players, I think he just doesn't like players who aren't good enough. And it doesn't matter if they come through the academy or if they're 33 years old. And,
or fit his style, which
or fit his style, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Swindle, on Njoku specifically, was there any part of you that might have kept him? I mean, there was a few performances early in the season, but I don't know, probably never quite hit the level, did he?
No, just from the point of view that we shouldn't put ourselves on any pedestal where we can choose to be picky. I think we needed him for long periods, and he's kind of served a purpose. And I think he could go on and do really well in his career. It's a tough kind of mold to have, and we seem to have a really good knack of producing quite small players as well, which is something that's not particularly well suited for breaking into Football League. You can get bullied out of games quite quickly and found out quite quickly, and I think the same happened with Barton. I think he showed in flashes that he was a really good player, but I think for Njoku, there was many games where he'd go missing. He hadn't quite found his identity and didn't fit into that team, and ultimately, was certainly wasn't a passenger, but just couldn't quite make enough of an impact of a game to be seen as useful. I'm not sure that going down to League Two with us would have benefited him either. I think to the point that the lads made about the kind of the youth scheme and bringing players in is absolutely right. I mean, it would be good for us to see if we could try and improve on it, but that's a long-term thing and certainly not something that should be a priority. As the boys have said, it would just be nice if that we could do that. But as you say, every club that does it that isn't us makes us want to do it more. The grass is always greener, but there's more priorities out there, and I think Njoku did great when he came in, and fair play to him. But yeah, time is right now for him to move on. As I said before, we can't be kind of sensitive in this process. It's got to be fairly ruthless.
Just very quickly to add a couple of things to that. One to what George mentioned earlier on about some of the players that we would have seen, come through, bed in, and then sold on. Maybe a few going back a few years. That's absolutely right, and I think that's the ideal thing. But probably what happens more now, and this, to be fair, might be total nonsense. I'm happy to be corrected on it, but as far as I understand, probably a lot more of our sales of academy players come probably before the age of 16.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to generalize too much here, but because I think our academy's cat 4, I think, and we're in an area where, like, you know, North London's just down the road. There's obviously 2 massive clubs there. Like, you've got other clubs relatively locally, like Norwich and Ipswich, who have better.
The Midlands as well isn't far.
Even like Colchester, like, you know, just use an example, they've got a really good academy as well. Like, I don't want to make sweeping statements and generalize totally, but it's probably not that much of a stretch to say that if they're still at Cambridge United by the age of 16, 17, they've missed out on chances to go to better clubs. And realistically, the pool that we're going to be fishing in to get these players are going to be the guys who have come through those sort of academies rather than the ones that have come through ours, I guess, in a way. I think the other thing, like, just on Barton and Njoku specifically, arguably they're a bit of a victim of time, because the timing is maybe not great, because if you're going to keep them, you probably have to give them 3 years, I think, or at least 2, because if you give me like, if you give them a year, that means they have to be part of your squad next season. Otherwise, it's pointless, and they have to be big parts of the squad. And Njoku is nowhere near the level, frankly, in my opinion. Barton obviously has certain things that would need to improve, particularly physically, and in a very short space of time. And if you're giving them 2 or 3 or even longer, you know, if you put a number of years into these guys, it's a big investment for players that we're not totally sold on. So I think there's your reasoning as much as anything. And it's a shame because, yeah, I mean, look, we like to see youth players coming through, but I'll tell you what, if we sign someone from the other end of the country, they come in and score 25 goals.
Who cares?
I don't care.
I think
Paul Mullin was from the Northwest, famously.
Yeah, had a stand named after him. Yeah,
it's a good point about the model of youth football, and actually the dealings and people moving on is way before they get to an age where they get close to the first team. Just on Njoku though, I'm so glad I'm not going to have to hear his chant anymore.
Oh my god,
I hated that chant.
Yeah, that's bad.
Don't
stuff.
worry, George. There's a group of youths in the NRE who I'm sure will come up with more shite next season for you to listen to. So yeah, watch this space.
Great.
Does anyone want to talk about Gary Gardner?
Yeah, go on, let's do it. The irony is, even if we spend
Don't know
a
what to
minute
say.
on him, even if we spend a minute speaking about Gary Gardner, it's more than he'll have done playing for us, which is quite incredible.
It is quite remarkable. I know we joke about him a lot, but when you really take a step back from this for a second, I think it's a fair assumption that he may be one of, if not the highest earner, not just in this squad, ever. Potentially, given the way wages have gone, the fact that we had a bigger budget this year in League One, he might be Cambridge United's highest ever earner. And he played literally 0 minutes.
But the problem.
What a servant. What a servant to the football club.
The problem for me is I don't quite understand why Gary Gardner himself hasn't come out and said anything at any point. Like, I understand there's things to be managed and stuff like that, but
What do you think he says? It? Like,
I'm injured.
My knee really hurts.
yeah, but they keep on saying like he's been doing really good stuff and he's been like a model professional. What does that mean? Like, he's pulled into the car park at 9 a.m. before training, and then driven out the car park at 1. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's true.
I imagine he's had a pretty tough rehab schedule and commitments, and he's probably
George, we're
applied
laying
himself to
into
that,
him
innit?
right now. This isn't the time.
Yeah, George, can you just leave the chat for a moment if you're going to come in and with your rational take?
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
take
with you.
I'll
balanced
take the
analysis of what's
reason
going on.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Not only am I going to use this as an opportunity to bash Gary Gardner, but I'll also use it as an opportunity to bash Ben Strang and Gary Monk, because this was arguably the marquee signing of the summer, and it was quite simply one of the biggest well, maybe it wasn't the biggest failure of the summer, maybe there are even more. But yeah, I mean, centre mid was an area we had to improve on, we had to upgrade in. On paper, seemed good, but it's quite emphatically not worked out, and we, maybe we could have looked more into the issues that have happened that, led to believe that we're unfortunate in some ways about the way things have panned out, and maybe if it had been handled better right at the start when he first picked up his injury, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. And you can argue we've done wrong by the player there in some ways if injuries hadn't been misdiagnosed and re-diagnosed and got wrong and mishandled and all the rest of it, which I'm sure has happened along the way. But yeah, I mean, he's a pub quiz answer.
Yeah, big time. Is it funnier that he played 0 minutes, or would it have been funnier if he'd have played like 1?
It'd have been funnier if he came on right at the end.
Yeah, right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But looked quality as well.
And then got released. That'd have been great.
Yeah, yeah. Wait till him and Dan Barton show up in some brilliant League One side next year. Plays 46 games. So the players that we've offered a contract to: Liam Bennett, Michael Morrison, and Sully Kai Kai. Just to go a bit wider here, I think Harris has said that he likes squads of 23 players with youth players who will likely send out on loan. If we assume that, just an assumption that Morrow and Kai Kai sign, let's say it's just those two, and let's say that Nascimento and Hoddle go out on loan, that leaves us, I think, with 11 players to sign this summer. Swindle, does that excite you as a proposition for the summer? Does that give you a lot of anticipation to who we might go out and recruit?
Well, we've spoken before about past summers being kind of boring, and also like all of the action happening right at the end or kind of over like a 3-week period. I feel like naturally with a change of league, promotion or relegation, you have a longer summer. It's more of a project. It's a rebuild. And I think it's a really good chance for the club to kind of get some fans back on side by managing the summer right. I know you can't force players through the door, that, this will take time. But once, you've got a few of those names through the door and you're building that squad, the communication avenues between the club and the fans, and trying to kind of promote those players, get excitement around them, and keep the fans posted about. There's only so much you can do that, but just kind of keeping that line of communication open is really important. And I think it's a big summer for us. Going down into League Two is going to mean there's going to be some fans who don't renew season tickets. There's going to be some fans who live in places like London and Norwich who might think twice about coming to games. So they need to manage this, this summer quite well from that point of view, as well as getting the team, the recruitment right. So actually, I'm quite excited. I'm excited for a break. Before they get into all that, but go ahead and announce players at your will, United. But yeah, it will be good to see what happens, and there's going to be a lot of new players. And we haven't even mentioned the biggest fact about everything yet. United are currently sitting with 0 goalkeepers, so that's what I'm really excited about, seeing who we bring in there.
Show some respect to Briggsy.
Yeah, you're right. Briggsy's nowhere to be seen here in this whole
No,
conversation.
Briggsy doesn't exist in this article, so I'm a bit confused.
Does Briggsy exist full stop? I don't know. I'm yet to
sat with Gary Gardner, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Swindle, about the sort of fan perception, excitement going into League Two. We really want to hit the ground running there. Jord, is there also something to be said for just approaching pre-season properly? When we did that, the month by month, we laughed about the Colchester game, for example. But I mean, look, I don't know the inner workings, but we left ourselves with a lot to do over August. A lot of our pods were about, where's this number 9, and the amount of work that we still needed to do once the season had actually started. Is there just something to be said for having as much of the core of that squad in place in June, July, as much as we can? Of course, a lot of it's out of our hands.
Yeah, I think there is definitely something in continuity. And again, this is probably another case for offering Digby another year, but people like Digby, Morrison, maybe they add a little bit to that. This is Cambridge. This is how we do things. This is the culture.
Not after last season.
Yeah.
This is how we do things. We don't win till the 10th game. Yeah. You do not win until the 10th game.
You know what I mean, though? Like that sort of that dressing
definitely.
room kind of mentality, hopefully, which you can change to a winning one, or at least win the next game. So yeah, there's definitely something there about continuity. I guess just on that topic of the amount of work to be done, obviously Mark Bonner was hired February time, and you would hope has hit the ground running on doing specific things. But we need to remember we are still, unless they've been hired and not announced, looking for a head of recruitment and a head of performance. So head of recruitment is obviously got a very large role because we need 10, 11 plus players. So hopefully there's news there soon, and that person has a lovely big black book that they can start reeling out some contacts and getting some deals done. But then also head of performance, and I don't know if we touched on it enough in part 1 of the review, but throughout the season, there was a lot of injuries. Now, obviously, there are some caveats there around players that we signed and things like that, past histories and ages and so forth. But that head of performance is obviously going to have a big role in setting up the training routine throughout the season, as well as the preseason, getting people fit, getting people to the right levels, not having people break down early. So yeah, in the jobs to be done category, there's a lot there with some names not next to it. So hopefully some good calls are made over the next couple of weeks, because we want these, we want these wheels to be in motion pretty quickly, because I feel like in my time as a Cambridge fan, the successful seasons have been the seasons where we've done good business early.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but I think that's a really good point, especially on the staff members there. All right, good. Well, I think we'll have the summer to chat through more of this sort of stuff into next season. But I think before that, we should put a bow on 24-25, wrap everything up with our awards. We've got 7 awards to dish out. I've got no idea what we're going to do if we don't have an agreement for each one, but we'll make it up as we go along. The first one is the Goal of the Season award. George, who would you like to nominate?
As you probably noticed from previous years, I take this category quite serious. So I would like to nominate Don Ballard, Blackpool away.
I knew you were going to do that.
And my second nomination, Don Ballard, Blackpool at home.
Yeah.
Look, it's obviously not going to win. I feel like there's one clear winner in this category, and I'm hoping one of you three says it. But yeah, it was just a funny moment, wasn't it? It was during that run of games where the hope ended and the season did finally get away from us. That run of 4 or 5 games after Harris won his first 2, where we lost, and arguably we should have got better results from all of those games, and Blackpool is one of those. But it was just an enjoyable moment. It came really early in the game. It felt like under Harris's games so far since he came back, we were always applying a lot of pressure early in games, but weren't getting anything to show for it. So it was enjoyable to see the ball eventually cross the line within the first 5 minutes. And it was just nice that something funny happens to another club, because it feels like a lot of those goals I've seen us do similar this season and previous seasons. There's some great attempted clearances in there, and finally crossed the line, over the line by a mile, if anyone asks. So I don't think it's going to win, but Don Ballard, Blackpool away for me.
Tom?
I've got James Brophy against Northampton. How can you not love James Brophy scoring directly from a corner?
That's a brilliant shout. That is.
I mean, come on.
I actually forgot about that. We did the whole month by month. We didn't mention James Brophy scoring an Olympico. I love you know.
We were very tired by we got to that month.
We were.
I would say probably the best thing about this is I think it was the game that followed Barnsley where he also scored. Yeah. And there was the whole fiasco with the T-shirts and the smiling. Which, by the way, sounds ridiculous in hindsight, I suppose. But for him to follow that up,
smiling.
Yeah.
The smiling.
You total bastard. Think of the children. But for him to follow that up it looked kind of deliberate as well, to be fair. Is that
a foul on a goalkeeper? Are you having that or?
I don't care, George. So, will you stop coming?
Yeah, what's all this?
What's all this?
Reasonable thinking.
It's the big questions, mate. You didn't let me get to ask whether Danny Andrew is a set piece specialist. If we can tie that one up with his leaving,
we can get rid of that. Yeah. Great shout, Tom Swindle.
Yeah, mine's a bit tongue in cheek. There's 2 answers. My first one was actually for Jack Iredale. Hibs versus Hearts. That's my goal of the season. One Scottish goal of the season too.
Famously not our player or our team.
Fair enough. It doesn't specify Cambridge United.
Yeah, it never said that anywhere. But no, if I was going to have to pick a Cambridge United goal from the season, it would also be James Brophy. But mine would be for the goal against Huddersfield. I think there's been such conversations about James Brophy and the player he should be from both, our fans, opposition fans, managers, and he needs to be a goal contributor, whether it's more assists or more goals. And he's brought both to his game at the back end of this season. And made himself into more of the player that people think he should be. It's a player that we should be quite excited about seeing next season. Famous last words. And this goal is just, a genuinely good goal. That's what a person who plays in his position should be doing, coming in on that left foot and bending it into the top corner. So yeah, that would be my suggestion.
That's also my nomination, so we've got a winner there. But if I'd have remembered the Northampton goal first, I might have gone for that. But
I can't believe no one said Stokes at the Abbey against Wickham.
Yeah, but I actually think Brophy's is better. I don't know. Maybe I was just in a better mood that day. Yeah. But they're similar goals at least, aren't they?
I would say that's annoyingly sensible from you, Swindle. After you started off with a player who doesn't play for us.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
In a different country. Yeah.
Is you being sensible that tongue in cheek that you were talking about?
Oh yeah,
right, easy.
Yeah.
Right, hero of the season. George, you can go first, but very quickly. Do you know who won hero of the season last year?
I remember that my nomination didn't make it to the final edit.
Yeah.
Was it Mr. Gary Monk?
It was
that
Mr.
won?
Gary Monk. Yeah, wait till you find out who won Villain of the Season as well. George, who's your nomination?
Okay, so I've got two quick honourable mentions, if that's okay. Firstly, to Ben Griffiths for his brilliant "Get Your Stats Right" articles.
Love
Love
that.
those. I finally got my head around what field tilt is.
They're back next season, by the way. We just ran out of energy, to be
He
honest.
was he was also first to call that Reyes was shit by
Yeah, he
quite
was.
a while. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
he
know if it
backed
was the
it-
first. There were loads of people within 10 minutes at Stockport. Which was exactly the same.
I was also about to say he was definitely the first with any sort of like data, but there were plenty
Yeah.
of people who had a feeling
Yeah.
before
the,
that.
the
Yeah.
first with like no pints inside him. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was about 600 people in the way at Stockport simply vibing it, I think.
My other honourable mention is a name you might not recognise, but James Jones. That ring any bells? This was the season of Substack, and Mr. James Jones was a guy that we had to ban on Substack for for pestering us, and he came up with the nickname "Under the Arse Shit." So so for that, he's a real hero. But
George, why do you always have to make this category such a contentious thing? All right, we'll talk about
do you, want
that
my
after.
do you want my actual answer? Which I
Yes.
just- yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, come on.
desperately make it boring. Just say
Well,
Neil Harris.
Well, no, it's
Fans.
Swindle covered it earlier, but Okadina, I think his redemption arc.
Okay, fair.
Started. He this time last year was told had no future at the club, was going on the transfer list, came back, worked hard, made his way into the team, did well. Redemption arc. Harris chopped him. So yeah, Okadina for me.
Great shout, Tom.
So,
Oh, for God's sake.
you know where I was going to go with this because we discussed this already. What I was going to say was that and I haven't gone for this in the end, so I guess it's sort of an honourable mention. I was going to go with Taylor Richards because Taylor Richards did, in hindsight, what many upon thousand of us should have done. He turned up, took one look at this season, went, fuck this, and then just simply vacated, which probably in hindsight is what we should have done. I'm not going to do that because despite all the evidence to the contrary, I'm not that petty. I don't really have a hero this season, so I'm just going to give it to Harrison Dunk.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
great. Yeah, well done.
I back it.
No explanation needed. Swindle.
Yeah, mine's not. There's no funny angle or anything to mine. Mine is actually Josh Stokes, and it's not for. Well, it partly is for his kind of incredible performances coming in on loan, but I really like that Josh Stokes is just going to turn into a complete shithouse. Like he will get in players' faces. I remember against Orient, their captain was pulling every trick in the book to try and waste time, and Josh Stokes was like stood over a man 3 times his height, getting right in his face as this guy lay on the floor. And I think Josh Stokes has that right amount of needle from a player, and he showed passion in games this season where so many others didn't and went missing. So like there was always belief with Stokes. Sometimes it was a little bit kind of rash or misguided, but to be honest, that was a player that I could see was playing for the badge, and that's one who wasn't a Cambridge United player, but right to the end, he played for us and played for the badge, and he can leave with his head held very high. So he was my hero this season.
Yeah, fair play.
Right on.
Taking the category seriously. Fair enough. Mine is also like kind of boring and maybe will age a bit badly, but mine's actually Mark Bonner. And it's not that he did anything. It's just so great to have him back. And in a season that lacked vibes, that afternoon, that evening where we did that emergency pod is going to stay long in the memory for me. And Bonner being back is a big part of that. And obviously, I'm hopeful that I guess it's one more look into the future that I think with him back at the club makes me feel more positive and hopeful. Okay, who's going to win this? A player who we've just released, a player that hasn't played for us for a couple of years, a player that we don't own, or the director of football. Stokes?
I like Bonner.
Do you?
That's not just a statement.
I'd go Stokes over Bonner.
Yeah, I think Stokes probably. I think
When we win the title next year, it'll probably be Bonner then. But
Okay.
sure. Yeah, he'll have his moment if that goes well. All right, Stokes can have the Hero of the Season award. The villain
James
of the
Jones.
season. Yeah. God. The villain of the season award. Obviously, last year famously won by Neil Harris. Tom, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I'm going to shock you. Your friend of mine, Gary Monk.
Yeah, I was just going to say this might be quite a quick round.
Yeah. Probably don't need to explain it that much more because there's probably about what 35, 40 podcasts worth of me explaining why I think this is the case. Yeah, a man who just simply did a terrible job. The stats bear it out. The eye test wasn't great, particularly towards the end. Way off the pace. Possibly the most uninspiring manager we've had in my time of going. Yeah, just a thoroughly unenjoyable period.
I've got Monk as well, and specifically for the press conferences is what I've written down, just to
Do you know what I mean?
do you know what I mean? Jord?
Yeah, look, there is only one real winner. Their name's been mentioned, but I will throw in another name, primarily because I've spent 9 months struggling to say his name. Mr. Dan Lundulu, our number 9.
Still struggling, aren't you?
Still struggling. It's not because I can't say his name. It is because of his outlook. Very similar to Taylor Richards. Feels like there's attitude problems there. We've not seen him for the last few weeks. It's these sort of rumours coming out from the club that, faking an injury and just basically doesn't want to play. When he did play, didn't really give great vibes on the pitch, sort of yelling at people, being quite frustrated when clearly it was him that was making bad calls. Bit of sympathy towards him because he was our number 9. The fact he was signed on deadline day shows that he clearly wasn't first, second, 9th or 14th choice, but had a big role to play, didn't do particularly great, and went missing towards the end of the season.
Yeah, really good suggestion. Swindle, any advances?
I pretty much the same as you guys, but the honourable mention goes to the guy who not once but twice pissed on my shoe at the urinals in the NRA.
What's on Walker?
I don't think he'll be listening somehow, but it's the same guy and he's done it twice because he turns to speak to me at the urinal.
Welcome, Mr. James
I only
Jones.
own one pair of shoes, so that's annoying. But no, my favourite quote.
Sorry, hang on a moment. Because Swindle, you brought up a couple of things here which we've tried to gloss over, but simply shouldn't be. He pissed on you twice.
Yeah, twice.
And he's turning
not
around
in the
to
same,
speak
not in the
to
same
you.
piss, in separate weeks.
In separate weeks.
Yeah, separate games.
How
He
far
comes and
apart?
stands next to me at the urinal to talk to me.
How far apart were the games?
That's 6 inches.
Not really good. Yeah.
No, I think one was. I know one was pre-Christmas and one was Bristol Rovers.
Oh fuck!
It was
that's
cold
so
as
funny.
well.
We're
As
talking
if
a
that
couple of
game
weeks.
wasn't bad enough, eh?
Yeah,
Sorry, no, I'm intrigued by this. This is a welcome detour from the grim reality of what the season's been.
He's still wearing the same pair of shoes then when I see you regularly now.
no, I've got a pair of sliders. Oh, what? When I see you, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't wear sliders in the
Yeah, I was
NRA
gonna
toilets,
say,
mate.
Exactly.
If
That's
that's
a
what
warning,
happens
a
to
health
you.
warning. Don't wear sliders in the NRA.
In my mind, one or two things has happened here. Either it's like a pissed up accident, which is probably more likely, but the other one is that it's just opportunistic. It's purely opportunistic,
It's
and
so funny.
in terms of the placement, now for people that you guys are having, like yourself, Jordan, people who sit in the south stand and stuff, they might not be as familiar with the image of this, but the way that the toilets outside the NRA are, in my mind, Swindle's sort of on the one like the back wall.
Yeah,
That's exactly
Guys,
where
yeah,
I
same. Exactly. Yeah.
And this guy stood in like the doorway.
Oh, right.
And he just absolutely angled a funnel of piss to a Swindle.
Well, not quite like that, but yeah, that guy needs to stop pissing on my foot.
Oh,
but
lads, that's really cheered me up.
My real villain for the series for the season is Gary
He only
Monk.
played 23 home games. He's done it twice.
Yeah, I know. I've not been at half of them. And yeah, but my favourite quote is from Batman. It's either you die a hero or live
We
long
get
enough to
pissed on in
become
the
a villain.
NRA.
Yeah, and then get pissed on by some old bloke. Anyway, Gary Monk is my one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to give it to the fella who pissed on you twice, but he probably should. We should probably go back and give him the Hero of the Season award. To be honest. Yeah. Anyway, Gary Monk clearly the villain of the season. Next one, I'm pretty sure we'll have the same answer for this one. The Match of the Season award. Swindle, would you like to go first?
Well,
because
I'm not.
you're on a roll here. So
I don't think my
the
answer
Bristol
will be.
Rovers at home.
No, yeah.
I'm really sorry. I'm
When he
still
pissed on the
thinking
other
about Swindle
shoe.
being pissed on twice.
No, it's my game of the season is actually the Cambridge Blackpool 4-all.
That's a surprise.
And it's
And
just because that was the first kind of beacon of any sort of hope as our first point of the season. Topsy-turvy game. A game we should have won. We should have won.
Well,
Shane
that's-
Lavery kind of announcing himself. And then, yeah, also a Dom Ballard goal at the Abbey as well, which was a bit of a collector's item.
That's the mad thing about that game, right? Is despite being 4-1 down or whatever we were, back to 4-4 with 10 minutes to go, we should have actually won the game. Stokes' chance on the edge of the box. I think that was his debut as well. George, same answer or anything else to throw in?
Would have been a real hero if he'd scored a winner that day, Josh Stokes. Danny Andrew goal in that game as well. Great moment. I'm actually not going to give it to the obvious one, which I think you guys are going to go for. I'm going to go for Crawley away instead. Second win in a row under Neil Harris. Wasn't particularly great afternoon, great game, great goals. Well, actually, Digby goal was good, wasn't it? But just in general, was a good day. It was a good atmosphere, and actually thought we were going to do it that day. So yeah, for that moment, that makes it my match of the season.
Yeah, lovely shout. Tom, anything else?
I'll go for the week before, I think. Stockport at home. Harris first came back. Real excitement in the Abbey. And just our best result of the season, I think. Beat a genuinely very good team by just being little old Cambridge in a way. Soaked up a lot of pressure, scored a couple of really good goals in the first half and made it nasty for them. And I guess a bit like Crawley, there was hope. A bit like Swindle's leg, it was quite quickly pissed all over. But these things happen, I guess.
I'll throw in the 2-1 win at Huddersfield, which we've gone over before, but just to have, I think that's probably the obvious 4, but I think it's got to go to the Blackpool game. What a crazy afternoon at the Abbey. I think we'll all agree with that. Right, next award. The Tom Walker missed the goal at Newcastle Best Moment of the Season award. Swindle, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
you got 2 of these, by any chance?
Yeah. No, I think you're going to be hard to miss Sully Kaikai's, goal at Huddersfield. But I think also another late Sully Kaikai moment was the late equaliser at home to Bolton back in November. We were down to 10 men and already staring down the barrel, and it just kind of showed that we might have a bit of resilience and something to do and get ourselves out of it. Jordan made a really good point in weeks gone by that Sully Kaikai was not involved too much this season, but his involvements were kind of very high on the excitement scale, and that that was another one, and a really kind of a smash and grab job. So I think that was a really good one and a good one not to miss.
Yeah, I'd also throw in Kaikai's the second goal at Stevenage was a great moment as well. Jord?
There's been a lot of special lofty moments this season. The top of my mind is that one time, I think it was Mansfield at home in the first half. He managed to delay the game by 3-4 minutes because he was tying his shoelace. So that was a close second. But my winner, Rotherham at home, which was an awful evening for lots of reasons. But during that game, I grew up a big Attitude Era WWF fan, and I saw Ryan Loft enact a body slam move from WWF on a Rotherham player, and it was terrific. So that was my moment of the season.
I thought you might have mentioned him when he tackled himself. Was it the Burton game or the Wigan game? I can't remember which game.
I actually have that written down, but I was like, I can't do 3 lofty gripes. That's too harsh.
You can.
We did.
Yeah. Tom?
My moment of the season came on X. I'll be honest. X. Great stuff on there.
Great stuff, yeah.
I presume you'll know what I'm talking about when I say 5 p.m. Wednesday, the 19th of February.
Oh, well, this is the double announcement.
The double announcement.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah. It's got to be. It has got to be. Yeah. I touched on it in my hero, but you're right. The that has got to be it, isn't it? My sort of tongue-in-cheek suggestion was every single King Street seller plug we've done on this podcast, which I think have kept me going throughout the season.
I am kind of sad to see that the good animal facts didn't make it in. As someone's moment of the season.
That was a great little period of ours. To be fair,
I tell you what, I'll just give you one more for a passing
one for the road
for the end of the season. Quite a lot of farmers in Europe and the Americas feed their cows magnets. So when the cows eat nails and barbed wire and little bits of metal, it all goes into one stomach and doesn't pollute the whole stomach and give them hardware disease, which would kill all the cattle.
And famously, they've got 4 stomachs as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it all goes to one stomach because that's where all the magnets are.
You got these written down?
Yeah.
So what's a goblin?
And you wonder
Great.
why you get pissed on.
Yeah. Okay, next category. The double announcement's got to win.
Yeah.
I mentioned it in my hero thing. That is one of the best nights of the year. The flip-flopping worst moment of the season award. This may have a few nominations, I imagine. Tom, would you like to go first?
Posh away. No.
Yeah.
I rest my case, Your Honour.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
No more needs to be said. Jord?
Mine's Posh at home. Just because I felt like we shouldn't have lost that game, but the exact moment was the fact that sort of getting out of the Habin took a little while, and I just had to witness all the Borough players doing their fist pumps, doing their celebrations, their olays with the fans. That was pretty awful. So yeah, that one.
Swindle?
Yeah, I've been umming and ahhing about this for quite a while. I found this one very hard, you know, for the reasons that we've all found it very hard for. There's just so many to pick from. I was going to say that one goal loss that we experienced, but there were literally 21 of those throughout the season. Mine's a little bit left field and won't win, but I had. Do you know when you have a feeling that you might have left the oven on and your house is going to burn down when you get back?
Yeah.
I had that feeling at half time when we were 1-0 up against Leyton Orient of impending doom, and I knew it was we were fucked then, and we were winning, you know, and I just knew it was all going to go wrong. I could, you know, it's like a flash forward, and just to myself staring at the floor at full time, and lo and behold, it happened. So yeah, it was just because of what had gone before in the season. Such a horrible feeling to be winning and still feeling negative.
Was your house
sort of-
okay?
I do sort of know where you're coming from with that, but I would say it is gloriously UTAS that your worst moment of the season
It was being
is a
1-0
moment when we're 1-0 up at half time.
and all the results are going our way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I do see what you mean, though. That sense of doom that we sort of, you could see the axe was like going to swing if also we played so poorly that first half, right, and sort of didn't deserve to be in front. Mine is quite specific to my experience of it, but I guess I'm talking about Bristol Rovers at home, and specifically that second statement. For me, it's when, because I was flying overnight during that game back from Australia, and I landed just as the statement had come out to about 1,000 WhatsApp messages. But it was the feeling of, oh, we're still sticking with this guy after all of this. And that was a real sinking feeling when I thought, well, this might be a chance to sort of start fresh in the new year. But yeah, I guess Bristol Rovers at home is what I'm talking about in that statement. I mean, lads, we've got to give it to Posh, haven't we? Away.
Yeah.
Really, I think they're all valid, but it can't not be Posh. Okay, and one I think we'll sweep up here. The Tom Hamer Player of the Season Award. George, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm going with JB7, Mr. Brophy.
Ooh.
I think there was only two options this year.
Yeah.
I think 3 goals, 7 assists. He's finally got some numbers with goal involvements, which was so key. That was what was missing. Beyond that, you know, his close control, his bravery, his ability on the ball, it's been exceptional, but, you know, stands out this year. Plays with plenty of heart, and then just played in various positions for us this season and gave it his all every time. So, yeah, looking forward to see him in League 2 next year. A point that we've made on the pod before. It seems like Neil Harris is able to get things out of him, which is exciting. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Brophy.
Mine's Stokes, for all the reasons Swindle said earlier.
It's got to be.
So it just, the amount of times that he was the only thing that you'd sort of turn up at the Abbey for, the only player who was a spark of any sort. Swindle?
I've actually gone for Brophy as well. I was so scathing of Brophy at his worst, and like I really did think we had one of those plucky players that other managers love, but you hate to have. And then he for all that we have been relegated ultimately, I think he has been him along with Stokes have been two brighter sparks for us. He's just put in a lot of effort as well, because I don't think he's the most naturally gifted player, but he has adapted his play and adapted his performance, and like Jordan says, a bit more versatility and playing in and out of positions, and I think he'll be a great tool to have next season. If he can use the confidence he's gained at the back end of this one and take it into next season, he's going to be a very, very useful asset in League Two. And yeah, proving a lot of doubters wrong, a lot of people jump on his back to be made a meme of because you don't score you know, and it be like a running joke amongst your own fans, it must feel like quite a burden, I think, even if you are like kind of chipper personality. So yeah, fair play to him, and yeah, Stokes is just an awesome player, and they say never fall in love with lone players, so that's why I've gone for James Brophy.
Tom, you've got a bit of a deciding vote here, kind of.
Oh, song.
Say Taylor Richards. Say Taylor Richards.
No, I'm going to go with Josh Stokes. For a lot of the reasons that have already been said, I think probably a lot of the things that you say about James Brophy can probably also apply to Stokes, but I just simply think Stokes is better. Just a real class above. I think basically whenever he's played, and there have been so many times that he come out the ground and he's literally been the only one that's put in like above a 5 or a 6 out of 10 performance. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what he does next. I hope that he gets his opportunity with Bristol City. But if not, I hope he gets an opportunity elsewhere in the Championship, because he's certainly good enough. And yeah, my God, if we had two or three more of that sort of level in the team, we'd be laughing. You know, we'd probably be sat here talking about another escape, to be honest, or maybe even relatively comfortable survival. So yeah, Josh Stokes, because quite frankly, he's been our best player.
Superb footballer. I think we all agree. Should we give it to Brophy just because Stokes is the hero? Or should
Yeah,
It's
why
very
not?
fair. Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Tom doesn't like it. We're giving it to Brophy. I've
Yeah.
decided. Stokes is the hero. Brophy is the best player. All right, there you go. That's our awards done. I think the last thing to do is, as we wave goodbye to League One, is just a quick look back at our favourite memories of our 4 years up here. Anyone want to go first? I mean, there's quite a few to pick from. Swindle?
Yeah, I want to say about League One, it's been an incredible ride, but it's also been like quite a significant thing in the 21st century. You know, COVID was a mad thing that we were all involved in, and then like you get pulled out of COVID by getting promoted to the league above. You know, something that's a big thing for the club after years of being, you know, down in the depths of the conference where we didn't think we belonged, and, you know, financial instability and everything else. So to come out of such a weird time globally and have that celebration during COVID and then come into League One was a really kind of significant thing for a lot of people, and a lot of people's, you know, first memories of football games will be in Cambridge United in League One, and it's a very, you know, a precious thing. I think it was a brilliant journey. There was quite a lot of bad football played over those 3 years, and we, you know, people keep on sharing, you know, tables of the football league in the last 3 years, and we're somewhere near the bottom, but we did what we needed to in those seasons and stayed up, and there were some absolutely incredible days, you know, at the Abbey. I think you think back to that 2-0 defeat of Peterborough at the Abbey, you know, just about kept us up, and then that, of course, the last day, the Forest Green day was brilliant. I mean, there were a couple of great days in that FA Cup run we had as well, you know, beating Northampton at home after a replay, and then a late winner against Exeter to take us through to that Newcastle game was, you know, another day that was pretty bonkers. So there's been great days at the Abbey, and yeah, we've suffered a few horrible defeats in League One, but I think I've really enjoyed it for the most part.
Tom mentioned the 19th of February as his moment of the season. My moment of League One also happened on the 19th of February, but it was 2022. A 2-0 home win against a team called Accrington. Can you remember who popped up with a 95th minute winner and a roly-poly?
Do you remember who popped up with a 95th minute assist, Jord?
Someone that would go on to be Player of the Year this year, right?
That's correct. Yeah. That's a great shout, George.
Wow.
The roly-poly is up there with one of the best moments. I'll go for an obvious one. I'll have Ipswich away in there. The win there. That was like special afternoon.
And the pink jacket.
And the pink jacket. Everything about it, like the weather, the way we won, the disallowed goal right at the end, the fact that we were basically safe and we're just enjoying this mid-table season in our first year back, and first year back after COVID. You're right, Swindle. That's the one that really sticks out to me. But an honourable mention for like Wimbledon away in that run as well, and obviously Newcastle, which leads me on to Tom.
Great segue. Yeah, I think most of them have been mentioned. I would say honourable mention to Pompey away in that first season.
Yeah,
back.
lovely shout.
Because that was the first little old Cambridge thing, wasn't it? That going away to a big club and grinding out a really good result. Ipswich at home that year was really good as well. Come back from 2-0 down. Last minute equaliser, Big Joe Ironside. I
Brophy goal.
think,
Brophy goal.
yeah, yes,
There you
yeah.
go.
Wow.
Wow.
God, he's been a
What
right
did the
from start,
Brophy
hasn't
stand?
he? I think like there's obviously a few like really good moments, a lot of which we've talked about loads. So I don't don't want to go over again all those again. But it's been, I think, themes more than anything. Like just the way that we've generally speaking gotten quite used to playing in front of really big stadiums, really big crowds. Like Sheffield Wednesday away, Sunderland away, Ipswich away, Birmingham away. Like the list goes on. Playing like Derby. To the to the point that almost like a day out at Charlton is almost just like a bit of and what sort of thing, was really good and something that I'd not experienced before, and I guess a lot of people won't have experienced before as a Cambridge fan. Big away followings, both that we take away to other grounds and that come to us. I think that first season back was especially good because a few players who had maybe not always got the recognition that they deserved in the promotion year got a load of recognition that year. So I'm thinking Rockadinas, Iredale, Ironside's obviously the big one. Digby even, although I think he was lauded quite a lot throughout the promotion year. A lot of it being led by Mark Bonner, I think was great. Obviously we had a lot of debate about him in the sort of middling League One period, should we say. But for him being able to deliver that great escape, I think was really good because it led to the moment that we should have had after he got promoted, which was obviously like jubilation on the pitch. Probably less so in the last couple of years, to be honest, because I think generally speaking there have been a lot more downs and ups. Like even the way that we stayed up last season wasn't particularly jubilous, I would say, even if there were a couple of pretty decent results in there. And yeah, I think just watching us play with some decent players at times, I think it's been really good. Like you think of the amount of players that have come through, and you'd be like, yeah, like they're pretty good, really. Smith is an obvious one. Nibs really stepping up to the plate. Stokes, who obviously talked about, even like players like Lloyd Jones, people like that who contributed quite a bit for their time there. I guess it's probably a sentiment from some that going through and talking about memories of League One in this way is a little bit tin pot, and we don't want to see it because to be fair, we've had our fair share of moaning about the fact that League One's been seen as a holiday, which I think to some extent it probably has, and it shouldn't be. And really, this is the level that we should see ourselves out. Obviously not next season, but this is the level that we should aspire to become very comfortable at. But I think that's kind of fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think for a lot of people, this will be the first time they've seen us play at League One level. It'll be like I say, most of the people that maybe even listen to this, that have seen us play a lot in the conference, a lot in League Two against some pretty uninspiring clubs. Obviously, we'll have to get used to that again next season, but it has been really good. And I think particularly coming out of something like the pandemic, like to go back into that year, which, for nobody else will be memorable in any way at all, because we finished, like 15th, 16th at the end of it?
Yeah.
But like, I remember the end of the season review we did after that. You literally couldn't name like enough memories, enough good players, enough stuff like that. And yeah, I think rather than it being kind of seen as like a holiday, it's got to be used as the benchmark. I think like this is what we aspire to, like this is what we should be aiming for. But yeah, there's been loads in there, along the way. Probably just about enough to be able to look on it fondly without it being a total misery, because we have lost a lot of football matches, some of them quite heavily at times, some of them rather embarrassingly at times. But yeah, I think it's probably served its purpose for us in that we go down as a much better prepared football club, because there's another world in which we get relegated straight out of League One in our first year, which could have happened. Like you look back to that and you remember we lost Mullin, we lost Noyle. Wes is another year older, potentially doesn't have as much impact at the level as we did, and we go down and we're in no way, shape or form better prepared to mount a promotion push or to stabilise ourselves as a League One club. Whereas now training facilities, massively increased attendances, massively increased the fan base, and obviously go down in a pretty good position. So I think for all of that, for all the individual moments, individual games and sort of days out that you can talk about, that as much as anything, I think is what I'd take from League One, because it puts us in a hell of a position to go again, basically. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah, the attitude I think that it gives us, and I think you summarised it well, is the point I was going to make, because we've said before that we shouldn't be treating this like a holiday. That's not the attitude of a fan base who expects their team to win games and stay up in this division and stabilise and grow. But the attitude is, it's not goodbye, it's see you later, right? It's like that's where we've grown, that's where we've we've become the next step of our progression as a football club in League One. This is a blip. It might still take us a couple of seasons to get back there, but you're right, Tom. That benchmark's been set by this period, and as much as obviously we're talking about those sorts of big days out as fans, your Ipswiches and your Newcastles. Just a quick little mention for that week after Newcastle, that Lincoln away, Crewe, Donny, that little period. It was such a special little time. But as much as we're talking about that, if you think about where we are as a football club, it's in such a stronger position, not even just for next season, but in the wider outlook of us as a club. That feels like a good place to end, I think. I mean, I think all that needs to be said is thank you to you boys specifically, because my God, if you think it's been hard to listen to this, trust me, doing it has been another level. At points this season when we were sort of like anyone up for this on a Sunday, it was rough. So obviously thank you for listening and for sticking with us and for reading everything on the website and sharing all our stuff and supporting us. We're going to take a few weeks off and then we'll be back over the summer with some summer pods and then back into it again next year, ready to go. Tom, what a season.
Yeah, I wish I could say it's been a pleasure. At times it has, at times it really hasn't. But yeah, we got there in the end. And yeah, it's basically panned out the way we expected it might, which is a shame for everyone. But yeah, we get another crack at it next year. Looking forward to a well-earned break. And yeah, hopefully covering a promotion next year, because we maybe didn't give the last one enough justice and we weren't able to do it the way we'd like to. So yeah, let's all get behind that.
There's that to look forward to. Jord, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks
Some sorts.
Thanks for all the lovely words there, Julian. Yeah, it's always enjoyable doing the pods. Thank you for everyone listening. I just have one favour before we go, Julian. Can you recommend anywhere I can get a bottle of wine?
Yeah.
Oh, one more to see us out. One more to see us out. We are in negotiations for next year, but they will have to pay at some stage, I think. But of course, you can go to King Street Cellar. The offer's valid all summer. UTAS 10 online and in store. Swindle.
He'll be there.
He'll be there, don't worry.